Right, so last night I got a game in with Azami in Prague. So she's an Ostruzhna deck, but I talked the lads into letting me play her against them in order to test her to make sure she's ready for Ostruzhna. she's quite effective. I was controlling the game. They were afraid to cast anything for fear I would counter it until they just started pushing things through. And it got to a point where I had control of the game early in the game, and the genie's getting upset because I wasn't really doing anything. And fair enough, I wasn't. She doesn't really have any win conditions. The win conditions are pretty much pump out a lot of wizards and then put something like Coat of Arms down to make them all big and start attacking. The problem is, Coat of Arms in Prague is not a good card to play because of so many tribal decks. Cube has 2 Eldrazi decks, a Tyranid deck, a Necron deck. Roman has a Horror tribal deck. The Genie has zombies. He's got fairies. He's got merfolk. He's got this deck that pumps out, this green-red deck that pumps out a mad amount of wolves. I forget the name of the commander. So playing a Coat of Arms into the face of that isn't really a good idea. Especially last night when Cube. So I had the Coat of Arms, had it in my hand. Cube had about a dozen Eldrazi. Making Eldrazi bigger doesn't seem like a good idea. But that was the win condition. That's how I expect to win. And the game got to a point where the Genie cast Elish Norn. I mana drained her. And then he resurrected her with something I couldn't deal with. And I just folded. I could have kept going. It didn't kill all my creatures. But at that time, I was not really into the game because I wasn't really doing anything. I'm just playing this dirtling control deck. The Genie was not happy because I'm playing a dirtling control deck and I can't close out the game. And it doesn't look like I'm going to get any closer anytime soon. And Cube is just kind of sitting there pumping out Eldrazi because he didn't have anything better to do and he couldn't really attack me with much. So that was a good test in that it showed me that I need to tighten Azami. I need to put in more win conditions. The first step is to take out things that don't help me. What doesn't advance my strategy? What isn't that good? Part of it is looking at some of the older cards I have that are superseded, that are no longer as playable as they used to be. So any creatures older than, say, 5 years, anything from Odyssey, anything from Ice Age, Urza Saga, I should look at those and really think about those. Specifically, I'm considering Puppeteer, because I don't really think he does anything for me. So let's just run through. And anything that looks like maybe I should take out, I'll just stop on. So, no. She counterspell, she stays. Nykthos I need. Copy. Get a counterspell back. Island. That's a counterspell. I will have a wizard, so it only costs 2 blue. Island. Tap target creature and loses abilities. So this is a combat trick. Steals creatures. Island. I don't know if I need that. So it costs 10. It does help me when it comes into play, but I'm not sure I need it. Mana. Tap her and tap another target permanent. Yes. Last night, most of the damage that was dealt to me by my own Mana Crypt. I took about a dozen damage from my own Mana Crypt, and it was killing me. So, the other thing that's killing me was Mana Vault. So I wasn't untapping the Mana Vault, so I was taking sometimes 4 points of damage during my upkeep, 3 from the Crypt, 1 from the Vault. So I need to keep him to untap the Vault, untap other things. He will find the Crypt or the Vault. I didn't get him, he would have been great. Tap and untap creature control. Tap target artifact, creature, land. So this is a way of dealing with big threats that might come at me. That's mainly the reason it's there. Tap things down. But I'm not sure if it's really worth the slot. If I go more make wizards big and go wide, maybe I don't need it. Incidentally, tap big things, but if I can steal them, if I can capture them, if I can bounce them, then I don't really need to tap them, do I? So that goes over there with Omniscience. Yep, that's part of the combo with Mindbreaker. I'll put that aside so I can remind everybody what it is. Counterspell on legs, land, Soul Ring, land, deals with graveyards, land. Okay, so I have got this effect to make my wizards bigger and double my mana. So that stays. Alternate win condition, not good for Prague because we don't play bullshit like this. But in Ostruzhna, yes, we play bullshit like that. There it is. Excuse me. Will Breaker and Sea King's Blessing. The combo where I can steal everything. Lil Mage Mentor. So he's a wizard. He makes merfolk tokens when I counter things. And I have Masquid Nexus in here to make everything merfolk and or wizards. So all my other creatures become merfolk as well, meaning I've got more creatures to try to hit 7 to counter target spell. So he stays. That'll save somebody. Flash. That is just too good. It's been too effective. So him. He's from Onslaught. He's an old card. He only costs 2, but he's just a 1/1. But I can rearrange the top of my library. And given that the number of wizards I have should be 3 or 4 or more, it's better than Sensei's Divining Top. He's much better than Sensei's Divining Top in this deck, so early wizard, I can use him Page Wizard. If I've got Masquid Nexus out, I can use him with Lil Mage Mentor, and I can use his own native ability. So he stays, that stays, stops my opponent, slows him down. She stays, Island, High Market. There's the thing that was fucking killing me. Riptide Director. 4 for a 2/3. Some legions. Draw a card for each wizard, so I can draw a shitload of cards. I can draw a massive amount of cards. And the art is fantastic. I love Scott Fisher's art. Problem is, it's a bit uncontrolled because if I have a lot of wizards, let's have her aside. Tower. So I'm trying not to have any sacred cows in here. I'm trying not to get too fixated on cards that do not actually help me. Okay, he just went in yesterday, and Ostruzhna, he's going to be good. I can take away people's combo pieces, just preemptively exile them from the library. She's also new, didn't get her last night. Wouldn't play her in Prague. We'll definitely play her in Ostruzhna. Take an extra turn. Yep. Let's see, Mana Vault. Ghost Quarter. So, spells. She stops spells. Slows them down, rather. But how many spells do my opponents really cast that target stuff I control? Swords to Plowshares. It's more abilities, but in Ostruzhna, what is it? In Ostruzhna, definitely Swords to Plowshares, Swift End. What else did they play out there? So she doesn't quite do much. She does make wizards. She can make 2. And this, unless I can bounce her or flicker her or something, which I really can't with the way this deck is constructed, she's down to 1 loyalty and all she's doing is sitting there. But she does make those 2 tokens. Let's set her aside. Nyx Lotus, yep, that's really good. Vidokan Mastermind. Okay, he's from, is it Dark Steel? 5th Dawn. He's from 5th Dawn. Yeah, that's the helm. The helm is 5th Dawn. Double blue, blue tap, return target permanent. So he can save something. He can also bounce Kasmina back. So let's set both of them aside. Cyclone Summoner comes into play, bounce everything except for giants, wizards, and lands. If I'm playing a bunch of artifacts, then I'll have to cast them again, but I don't have to cast him, and when I do, it slows my opponents down. So let's put him there. Sylphid Constable. He's kind of a cute little trick. I really want to play him. He's from Judgment. He's an old card. He's only 1/1. I have to get him through somehow. Unless he's bigger, he's not going to be hitting my opponents very hard. So I'm not going to be bouncing that many permanents back. So let's set him aside. Right of Replication. Okay, this is kind of one more. Yeah, there's a lot of creature in here that it'd be really fun to have multiple tokens of them. Really fun. But for 9 mana, later in the game, sorcery speed, not sure I need it. Tower of the Magistrate, yep, that's always been effective. She was funny last night. I forget the name of it. It's some artifact that costs, I think it costs 6. It gives you 3 mana, or you can spend 3, sacrifice it. I think Hedron Archive. And I stole it from Cube with her, and I sacrificed to draw 3 cards. So she's funny, she stays. Willbender, he was effective last night. I morphed him, flipped him over, and countered an ability. So the ability was going to steal something of mine, and I countered it. So that worked. Castle Vantris, land. Sage of Fables. Each of the wizard comes into play with additional. So it doesn't matter how it comes into play. She doesn't care. So if I kept Kasmina's tokens, oh shit. If I have her, and I have Masquerade Nexus, and I cast Master Waves, all those elementals get +1/+1 because they'll be, wow, yep, she stays. Tidebinder, good trick, she stays. Mutavault, land wizard, stays. Second patron wizard, stays. Venser, bounces something, returns a spell. So if there's a spell that's uncounterable, I can still put, like Supreme Verdict, I can put it back in their hand until I can figure out how to deal with it later. Land. Grieves, equipped creature, Shroud and Haste. Not really sure I need this. Not really sure. Because I'm not attacking with anything. I don't have that many tap abilities. Shroud, I should be able to counter something. That's the idea. Rather than prevent something from being targeted. So we'll set the Greaves aside. War Tax. I had this in my hand. I didn't cast it because I needed the mana for other things. One thing is, Azami is very, very mana hungry. So I need more ways of getting mana down, need more ways of getting land down. But this War Tax, it can stop a lot of attacks. So let's say Cube is playing as Rossi. He's got fucking Ulamog and Kozilek and all this Annihilator bullshit. And they say, your creatures can't attack this turn unless you pay 4 for each of them. That's pretty significant. And if he only attacks me with 1, then that's more tolerable. Something I can handle as compared to, if he has a dozen and he attacks me the full dozen. So War Tax stays. It's better than Propaganda because I can pay. Yes, I do have to pay mana every turn to do it, but I can make sure that they can't pay for that many creatures. Propaganda is a lot easier to play around. Land. Time Spiral. Get my shit back. Sigil Tracer. Tap 2 and tap wizard you control. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets. She's pretty niche. But out in Austrusna, they play more hardcore decks. It's the kind of thing where I don't really know how good she's going to be. I suspect she's going to be really, and it is wildly variable. Some games, she just sits there and looks cool. Other games, she can do some good work. She only costs 3, and she's a 2/2. And she doesn't tap, so if I have 1 in a blue available, if I play her, and I have another wizard, and I've got 1 in a blue available, then I can tap her for the ability, because she doesn't tap to do it. So she's faster to do that. So let's keep her. Terrain Generate, yep. Teferi, flashy, gives my other stuff flat, which is good, because if at the end of somebody's turn, I tap my wizards, draw cards, then I can play the some of the creatures I get. Which is one of the reasons why if I take out any creatures, I do not want to put in non-creatures. I want to make sure I have a high number of creatures. This is pretty cool. I did get it out last night. The only thing I copied after it before I ended the game, before I folded, was Sage of Fables. But since the 2 sages saw each other, they both became 3/3s. So let's see, where is Sage of Fables? Let me check on that. Did I get to her yet? Already passed her, didn't I? Yeah, let me check that. Is it cast or does it come into play? Comes into play. Yep, okay, so I did do it right. So Kasmina's Wizards would actually be 3/3s with Sage of Fables. So Kasmina has more reason to stay in the deck. So this is good. Makes my stuff cheaper. Yep, this is doing fantastic work. I got this out early, and I started stealing stuff. Yeah, he's not coming out. Void Mage Husher, counter target activated ability. There are so many activated abilities these days, and I can bounce her and do it again. So keep her. Coat of Arms, and Austrusian of this is okay because there's fewer tribal decks out there I need to worry about. And the idea of the deck is to pump out wizards, make them big, and smash. This is my Resurrection component. So Crypt Creature gets +2/+2, protection from black and white. Whenever it smashes somebody, I gain 3 life, which is good. I need the incremental life gain. And I can raise dead. Tapper and tap target creature. Do I care about this? So he's from Odyssey. He's an old card. I love the art. The art is hilarious. Tapper and tap target. How useful is that to me, really? I already took out Stony Brook Angler. He costs 1 in a blue to tapper and tap a target creature. There's not many creatures that I would want to untap. This is pretty niche, so let's set him aside. Master Waves, yep, expect him to do some good work. Protection from red could be relevant. Desert Temple, untap Nykthos. Halimar Depths, look at the top 3. I was going to cast him. I had drawn him a turn or 2 before I folded, before Elish Norn hit, and I thought, yeah, let's just end the game because nobody's having fun. But this, excuse me, this guy is how I was expecting mainly to get Cephalid Constable through. But maybe I'll take out Cephalid Constable. So that stays. Academy Ruins, yep, get artifacts back. Cryptic Command, that stays. Washout, return all permanents. So I could run Inundate. I could run Inundate, which is 6, 3 colorless, 3 blue, return all non-blue creatures to their owner's hand. It costs 2 more, and it only affects creatures. This affects permanents, so this has more, in a way it has more flexibility, but it hits less things, potentially. Inundate, all non-blue creatures go away. A washout is somebody has black-blue creatures, black-blue-white creatures, then I can wash out the adjoining color, and those will go back to their hand. And it only costs 4. So let's keep that. Island. Siren Stormtamer, yep, she worked out pretty good last night. I love this card. This card is fantastic. Comes down early. And it turns all my non-basic lands into islands, so I can tap them for blue if I need to. Vendilion Clique. Flash Flying comes to play, look at target player's hand. Choose a non-land card from it. And then they put it on the bottom of the draw card. I'm not really sure I want to keep this in the deck. I'm not really sure at all, so let's set that aside. Liquid Metal Coating, yep. If I'm keeping the Mages of the Unseen, I should keep the coating, because then I can steal anything. Masquerade Nexus, yep. Make everything Wizard, Merfolk, all kinds of stuff. And Island. Let's count how many fairies I have still, just to get an idea of something else I'm thinking about. I doubt I have very many other fairies. Thinking Spell Stutter Sprite. What if I put Spell Stutter Sprite in here? Huh. She's really not going to see any members of her. Unless I have Masquerade Nexus. If I have Masquerade Nexus out with Spell Stutter Sprite, that's pretty goddamn good. That'll be fucking hilarious. Wizard, Enchantment, Wizard, Human. Do I have any other fairies except for Glen Elendra Archmage? No, the 2. So it looks like I only have 2 other fairies for Spell Stutter Sprite. Alright, so anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 potential cuts. Some things I was thinking of putting in are Vanquisher's Banner. The reason it's not in here is because it costs so much. It only gives my wizards +1/+1. And yes, whenever I cast one, I draw a card. But I should be tapping them to draw cards. So I didn't see where I needed the duplication. Maybe I do. Adaptive Automaton. Choose a creature type. So I didn't have in here before, because when I make a tribal deck, I like to have the cards of that tribe that say wizard, that say fairy. Edgar Markov is a perfect example of this. Edgar Markov, as a lot of people have pointed out, could really use Roaming Throne. It's not a vampire. And somebody's arguing, yes it is, read the card. When it comes to play, it becomes a vampire, or whatever you want. Yes, but no. Because I want things in Edgar Markov that when I cast them, trigger his Eminence ability and give me a token. Roaming Throne does not do that. It does a lot of other things, but it will not give me another vampire. So let's put Adaptive Automaton in there. Cryptic Gateway. Tap tomb, tap creatures you control. You may put a creature. So this will get me more wizards faster because I don't have to cast them. It's diminishing returns because I'm not tapping them for drawing cards. I'm not sure if I want this in here, but it's an idea. Door of Destinies, so something else, as I saw with Elish Norn. I need ways of making my creatures bigger. This will make my creatures bigger when I play a wizard. So maybe Door of Destinies. And I need more life gain, so this is an idea. Let me go to a part 2.